You join me here on a beautiful VE Day, 75 years after the end of the Second World War. It's gorgeous. It would have been a lovely day had we been allowed to go out and do stuff for it. I'm just thinking about my own sort of connections with it. So my great-granddad Cyril was a medic and obviously managed to get back. I don't think he ever spoke about what he did or what he saw, and I imagine some horrendous things if you're a medic in the Second World War, but he was there. Ancestry are doing you get a free weekend on Family Trees this week, and I've been having a quick look, because he's from up north. My family were from Newbiggin, Middlesbrough, Hartlepool, that sort of area, Newcastle. One bit of the family anyway. They were up there. My granddad, my dad's side, he came from Northern Ireland to help rebuild. I believe he was called up, but he hated the British, so I don't have any pictures of him in his uniform, although I think there are a couple. But he was what he actually did was, because he was a builder, once the Blitz had happened, they sent him to London to help rebuild the country, and he was a watchman in Coventry as well. When he got back, he was on top of Elvis, which is now Elvis Retail Park, where Morrison's is. So he sat on Morrison's roof watching out as a spotter for bombers coming in, which is, interesting. And then after the war, he met my nan, who was they met at the Rialto just down the road from the Elvis, which is still there, and then they were together the rest of their lives from that point on. That was like 70 years, maybe longer. And it's interesting. I don't know. I know Nan was obviously very little. Well, she was at school. She remembers the bombing raids. She actually got in trouble. She saw a bomber loosing off its rounds into houses in Chapelfield, because my family were watchmakers. Cov connection there. And she saw the bombers loosing off some bullets after a raid, and she was late for school, and they scolded her about it for being late. Doesn't matter if the Germans are there, you go to school and you get there. Doesn't matter if you get shot up. Sort yourself out, love. She always remembers that and tells me that story. It's great. It's weird looking back. What happened, because you don't really. It's 80 years since Coventry got blown to bits in November, so I'm sure I will post more about that at the time. I think that's got to be etched into most Coventrians' mind. Well, it should be. 14th November 1940, when everything changed once again for the city. What I wanted to do, I'm 5 minutes in, but was talk about another often overlooked element of World War II, which is Bletchley Park, which is been immortalised by Imitation Game, Alan Turing. However, Alan Turing broke Enigma, but the Lorenz cipher was much more difficult, and that was broken by Bill Tutt, who was largely forgotten. He became a lecturer in Canada, and then he revealed all in the late 90s about what they'd done, and he has a statue now, I think, wherever he was born. Well, he should have. And the person that invented the first computer was at Bletchley Park, the modern computer, Tommy Flowers. He was he was awarded, like, I think £100 or £1,000 from the government, which didn't even cover his costs, but he helped build Colossus, and he basically invented the modern computer. There's a lovely story of him in 1990 going to college, and he gets a beginner's word processing course certificate for old people, and all the people there wouldn't have known that he invented the bloody things that they were using. Just a very different version. I love Bletchley and what they did, because they easily shortened the war by a couple of years, knowing what was going on. That Lorenz cipher just changed the game. And obviously Alan Turing had a really tough time after the war, for just being himself. But there was a team of them, there was hundreds of them, women. In fact, all the first computer scientists were women, code breakers, mathematicians, and then all that fence has been pulled over. The cows don't get out. But I thought that was, I always think about them. There's some really good documentaries about Bletchley with some of the people that are there that have sadly no longer with us. There's a good book by Jerry Roberts. He was there as well. And it's well worth a look if you can ever go down there when we're allowed out. It's a fascinating place. Anyway, that's 6 minutes. It's more than enough waffle for today. Have a lovely bank holiday.